Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Mayor Brian Lewis. Here. Council President Roger Perry. Here. Councilor Jeff Hensley. Here. Councilor Adina Oliveris.
No, I just wanted to say.
Adina.
Here, sorry.
And then
Present.
Councilor Joseph Parsons. Here. We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Visitors? Right.
Oh.
You're a visitor.
Hey,
Jack. And
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills for last month.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes for last month. But actually, there's two of them out there. There's one.
There is. It's November 16th and December 11th.
Right. Can we do both at once or?
Yeah.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comment. This is the time to speak to the city council or the mayor on any subject, including what is listed on the agenda, except for public hearing. Any public comments?
I just have one, a short question. I noticed that, there's a lot of chatter going on next door, and me being a lead in Spring Street, is there anything other, Alex, that
Yeah.
I can say to those people? All they want to do is bitch. And I'm trying to ease about the water. And it's like, if you have a problem, go talk to Alex.
Don't come to the council.
Okay, I was gonna send him a message tonight, but I thought it was too short.
We're dealing with a natural disaster. I mean, we don't control the climate.
It's not just us.
We don't control the dam drawdowns.
Suggest they go to the website, since
Okay.
there's recordings on there, and invite them to come to the council. That would be awesome. I remember before I took myself off of next door.
Mhm.
One of the people say that they like to be on the council so they can fix it, so come, you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
So they can fix it.
yeah,
I'm trying to be nice.
and Sam might say it later.
It's definitely a better way of vocalizing your opinions down.
I don't give an opinion.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they do, but the people on the, whatever the app is, it's, you never understand anybody's grievances if they're not out saying what used to be said.
And another concern I have is we have a citizen in town who it's Crystal Martin. She's the one that lost her husband here a couple of years ago. Do you remember her when her husband came and helped with the playground? You often know that she doesn't have any job. Do you know anybody here in town who's got a job, odds and ends, things like that? I've offered her solutions in town, but she just doesn't want to take them. And I told next door that, we've given her suggestions and she won't take them. That now becomes her total problem. Because people are tired of her, She's doing a GoFundMe. I thought that's not the thing to do in Sodaville.
I stay away from open social media
Mhm.
because those people are allowed to vent all they want and nobody does anything about it. And most of the time, the complaints are not even valid. Just like the lady that thought we were spying on her kids
Oh my
with the
goodness.
camera. I was gonna join that group just to see what the conversation was, and they turned me down, which is okay.
Here in Sodaville?
Yeah, on the Friends of Sodaville. Whoever runs that turned me down. To join it.
It's someone who lived outside the city limits.
Well, years ago, when I first got on council here before, we actually had people who used to come to meetings a lot more.
Yeah.
But, I'd be after meetings, before I was even mayor or anything like that, president council, I'd be at a meeting and be walking around town visiting the people. And I got a lot of people say, what'd you do at the meeting last night? How come you did this, do that? I said, want to know what's going on? Come to meetings.
Mhm.
find out what's going on. The doors are welcome.
And it's online, so.
Back then it wasn't.
I was gonna ask, did your emergency water meeting get on YouTube?
Yeah.
It did?
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things they complained about. Was that-
And you know, my email address is on our website and I get.
Yeah,
people
I had to re-upload it,
Comments.
but it's there. And all of the
Respond
YouTube
to
recordings are
every
listed on the website.
And they never respond back to me. And basically what I tell them, come to the meeting. If you want to see things change, don't just sit there and bitch about it, come to the meeting, but nobody ever does.
Want to do that more often, every.
We can find more chairs after we get this building filled out.
I mean, you know, if we pose it in the, just come to the meeting, but everybody's got input, bring it to us. There's no way for us to know, so.
I noticed you, let's come to the meeting and address it there.
We want input.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Council's doing the best they can to
Yeah.
resolve these issues, and if somebody's got a better idea, then bring it to the council meeting and find it out.
There's a lot of misconceptions on Nextdoor
Oh, I know,
with.
I'm trying to get off, but they won't let me.
Yeah, click the button on the computer.
Because I'm a lead person.
The city holders report.
Oh, alrighty. Well, this isn't going to be the most fun report we've ever gone through. So first off, if you look at our city's finances and the way things are going, we approved about $32,000 worth of bills today. 20,000 of that, no, sorry, 22,000 of that is water. Just the water hauling, for the hauling and for purchasing it from Lebanon. So other than that, we're actually keeping expenses pretty low. We basically have about 10,000 per month in recurring expenses that we have to keep track of and make sure we have money in the bank to use. Right now, as of today, there's a little over it's around $21,000 in undesignated funds in the bank that we can use, which is pretty great. It's been a while since there's been that much that we can just use other than the designated stuff like ARPA in the bank account. Just the big problem is, again, all of the money gets washed away as soon as we get our water hauling bill. And you know, if more people were conserving and if the water rates were higher, that wouldn't be the case as often, but that's just kind of the situation we're in right now.
Speaking about conserving, you know, we've had some people that really stepped to the plate. The school did, that gentleman that did the, it would be nice to applaud the positive. Maybe not everybody is, you know, conserving. Psycho has a bucket in the shower, but you know, maybe if we put something in our on site or in our next notice to not call anybody out, but to thank the people that have stepped forward.
Thank you, everybody, for
and done
conserving.
that. Yeah, because there have been some people.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Not that we don't need a lot more.
You know, I think that the person that will step forward more than anybody did that day. Because if it wasn't for him hauling water, we'd really be in a bind. I mean, we'd probably be.
The old lady was on 2 years ago, he wanted $300.
Really do.
And I don't think you'd be as flexible or fixing it when they steal the pump at the fire hydrant. That's at least the second one, isn't it? I think
Yeah, you're.
third.
It was the third one since we've been on one part. That's the. Yeah. Like 16 more of them sitting at the shop down there, just gotta finish putting them together. That's the walk. That's what the meters.
And thank you for the guy, and I don't know who it is, he's letting you go through the property.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
Rick Alley, yeah. I need to go visit him, I got some for him. I need to go.
Safe spot, I have money and nothing else. And I go, you know, and drop it from down.
Just moving on from there, we're passing a supplemental budget later that'll add $40,000 to our ability to pay for water hauling. So that allows us to pay for the $22,000 that's coming in today. And hopefully, there's only one more month's worth of water hauling bills to pay for. It really just depends on Mother Nature. And hopefully people see higher bills and conserve. We're also looking at charging higher rates for higher volume users during non-restriction periods later this year that hopefully can stabilize our finances a little bit more. Stability is something you can hope for, but there's a lot of money that we're talking about here. I did talk with Congresswoman Lori Chavez during her office, and they're happy to help us working in getting a $60,000 appropriation when the congressional directed spending window opens up in March. So that might help us recover some of the costs that we've lost this year, help us rebuild our reserves. And then we talked to both Representative Jimmy Kate and Cedric Caden and let them know, hey, we've hopefully got one more year of this. Can you both work with us this fall or this session, get $60,000 for the next fiscal year of water hauling, just so that we can get through the end and do that. And they're both very excited and willing to help us. Other than that, though, this is kind of a Band-Aid, because what we're going to be doing the rest of the fiscal year and hopefully probably through summer is basically just continuing to keep the city on a diet financially, keep the expense amount to $10,000 a month or less if we can do it, and hope that we don't have to keep hauling water. Otherwise, we're gonna have to make more cuts, maybe raise rates again, and hopefully we can find some more money in there, but there's not going to be a lot coming in. That's about all we have to do for the finances. Next up is to talk about the new well project. I got a staggering amount of regulatory paperwork related to it dropped on me this week that I need to just needs to get done. And there are a few things. Business Oregon laid out a timeline that they expect a new well to be added to our system. One is they were hoping that by December we'd have contracts figured out for an engineer and a surveyor and a few other things. Then they were thinking hopefully by next summer we'll have the design complete, and then by next winter we'll have it halfway done, and then by next spring of 25 we'll have the rest of it done, and by June 25 we can close out the project. Now the city's legal counsel says that we need to prepare a purchase option for easements because this is something we're purchasing. And there is money that we did get from the state and through the IFA loan specifically for property acquisition. We need a surveyor to help survey and actually figure out what we're buying so that we can get all of that figured out. The lawyer needs a surveyor to prepare a legal description of the property in order for a purchase option to be prepared. Finally, so there is an RFP open. One basically says we're going to get a surveyor. The surveyor's first job is going to be to work with us on this project, and then just stay on retainer because we don't want to have to look for a surveyor in the future every time we need a surveyor. I think that was a good step to go. Business Oregon also provided some guidance about engineering and project management. A good chunk of the money goes to engineering and towards project management. Basically, an engineering firm that's sufficiently experienced with this type of project is also going to know how to manage it. And we want to get some professionals who have done this before as an engineering contractor side to be able to do that again. So the RFP that we're going to issue today, in addition to that, is for engineering and project management. And they'll have to be familiar with safe drinking water and American Iron and Steel. Those are both federal requirements about how the money has to be spent and used. The other thing that was really painful to find out this week was confirmation from the Oregon Water Resources Department that because of the way the Office of Legislative Counsel miswrote the appropriation, we are going to have to get a legislative fix for it during the 2024 session. I let Business Oregon know about that, and they said, it's that's going to be done by March. That's probably as long as it's going to take you for you to find an engineer anyway. So Business Oregon's not really concerned about the pace of the project where that's concerned, but they did basically say we're not going to fund any money until there's a legislative fix. Now, there is one alternative on that. The primary problem with the legislation is that it focused, the statutory language focused on converting the well rather than building a new one and tapping into the same water source. And we decided not to go with conversion because there was not as high a likelihood it would succeed. And it would be more expensive. We figured let's go with something that's more likely to succeed and less expensive. If we were to say, you know what, let's go ahead and just try the conversion, then we could get all the money right now. But that's risky, as we know.
And you see also not Jackman, it was another name.
Yeah, they put the wrong name. They said Jack's son. Yeah, yeah, that's the state of Oregon for you, unfortunately. So, Rip Kate's office is ahead of the problem. We let him know this week. This was the definitive answer from OWRE, and they're getting on it for us. So we'll have this fixed up during the 2024 legislative session. Thanks to their help. So, see if I had any other notes on that. The only other thing that helps with that is if we get to 2025 and we find out it's not going to be done by that summer, we can go, well, hey,
You guys messed
you
it
guys
up.
screwed up, so you need to keep this money flowing. That is a political argument that we're going to be able to make during that session. So there's that. Otherwise, it's just somebody else screwed up and we have to deal with it. That's not great. Things looking forward to the new year. I'll be working part-time in the legislature February and March. Accordingly, we're gonna cut my hours here during that time as part of our package to make sure we have enough money to pay all of the bills that are coming through. I want to make sure I can attend the mid-year city voters conference in April because I am the treasurer of that organization and it gets me points for certifications. That can be funded by a scholarship from the organization. We remember our budget plan says we get our donations are partially tagged to the training and events attendance budget. So I will pay for it up front and then wait for the scholarship money to come in and then send that, get sent back to me. That way, the other one is I want to attend the professional development training for city recorders in Tacoma in June. And that is something we can get scholarships for as well. I also did find a donor who is willing to cover my costs if the city and scholarships don't cover it for me. That's a week-long training session. I have to do one a year for 3 years in order to get certified as a city recorder through the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. Let's see. So the last one is something I let the mayor know about earlier is that sometime in the new year after our finances have stabilized, we'll look at the appropriate time to do this. Is that my wife and I want to start a family, and unfortunately I can't afford to do that in this current position. Healthcare plan does not cover family, so sometime in the calendar year of 2024, I will probably start looking for a new position outside of here. I do work about 4 jobs right now, but unfortunately they don't leave me with enough to cover a health insurance plan, especially not for a pregnant woman. So that was everything I had to bring up now. Let me see if there was anything else. That's the other part, is that we've been hyper-focused on dealing with this water shortage over the last few months. And it's been a pretty straining thing to go through for all of us here. There's more administrative work here than one person can handle and not enough time to do it. My schedule just ends up being constrained by hours of granular accounting and budget forecasting. Hopefully we're approaching the end of this water shortage soon, if our wells are able to improve. We just all need to remember to give each other grace during this because the conditions of this water shortage kind of prevent us from operating at peak efficiency. It's hard going home every day and knowing that my best isn't good enough because there's simply not enough of me to go around. I'm trying, hoping that we can make it through. So that's everything else I had to say. Any questions?
So if I understand you correctly, new well stuff can happen. Right?
Before we can get funding reimbursed for it. So-
we can get
Yeah.
things going. Okay.
Yeah, we can get these contracts out there. Sorry, keep going.
And then, before you can get purchase out there, options, you need to have a surveyor / engineer. So that they can get together with the landowner.
It's,
Talk about this.
it's the surveyor specifically that our lawyer says needs to go through and
So
talk.
now discuss all that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
so. Yeah, sometime in the next calendar year.
So you're gonna leave in the middle of trying to get this project.
Hopefully not. We'll just figure out what 2024, we'll see what ends up working. But it all just really depends on, I want to get our finances straightened out so that we're not in a pinch next fall. And, I want to get the project ready to go so it can be picked up. We'll see. We'll talk with everybody. I'm not just gonna make that decision on my own, and make sure that there's a real transition plan in place so that this doesn't turn into a bomb exploding on everybody. Yep, that's the plan.
The last one recorded at 5.49% last month, which is a little higher than normal. One of the reading days, because I read it the first of each month, one of those reading days we're talking about it, that can throw my numbers off. So, but yeah, on that. That's what I had. On the 14th, they came in there and wells like, oh, I do. And wells it went up 1/10 of a foot, which is 500 gallons. Since then, they go up a little bit at night, but during the day, the reservoir's going down. So we're still not maintaining, but we're not nearly as bad as we were. We haven't hauled water for a little over a week now.
I thought I missed it.
The other thing that's helped with the lack of, we're not producing enough during the day. So we're still losing out of the reservoir during the day, and part of something that's helping us not lose so much is the pool hasn't been open. So we're gonna come back to the session next week or whatever it is, then we're gonna be losing more again during the days. But the nights, we're covering about 500 to 1,000 extra gallons. Sounds good.
What's the school done? That's a why.
Haven't had a chance to go talk to them. I think they drastically.
You know, it's what they did to you.
Yeah. The price tag the kids. And the top water consumers for last month, the highest one was that leak that we couldn't shut off. So just so you guys realize, that leak was getting worse and worse. It's gonna get.
I know, I was hoping that was like the typo, 40,000.
I know you're awfully fixing that.
Yeah, until we have water.
Yeah.
To lose.
So it is fixed?
The line is fixed by major our valve sheet. So they haven't fixed their leak.
Okay.
We don't have control over their water. Okay. That's what it is. The valve isn't leaking or anything. It's not leaking. Yeah.
But later that valve will get fixed, but at least the leak was stopped.
Yes.
Which would.
The last two readings of the study, there's been no leaks reported.
Yes.
Maybe that we try to do it every Monday. Yeah, I'm trying to update the O&M manual and emergency response plans in my time. I'm messing with the wells.
Emergency response plan?
Yeah. Whether in the case of a disaster or something, and so if I can't be here, there's a bunch here for whoever's covering for me. And there's one up at the compound, there's one inside, well, not the whole book, but inside the pump room up there. The first 4 pages that tell you who to call, when to call, what you can and can't do, what I have to enter, all that kind of stuff.
I don't think Joseph was on the
It
team
was not.
back when everybody went through that.
We should probably look at doing that again sometime in the near future. Because I think it's supposed to be done annually, but I'll have to look up the state ordinance and find out. So I'm happy that for anybody that wants to have any time on her information. Just try and set it up a little ahead, so. I'm not coming to I think that's all I have. Unless you're
It definitely helps. It's pretty to go up there and while you come in from what you do.
Item 10A. So that is our ordinance that we are using to cover. Sorry. So that is increasing our water rates during restrictions. That would be for 4 cents per gallon for use over 7,500 gallons per month. And it also has to renumber the section below it because we're deleting a section. So, yeah. Oh, yes, right. We need to have somebody, well, just read the script, sorry. I don't need to.
Open a public hearing to consider the ordinance. The hearing will conduct as follows. It'll make the opening statements and set any ground. When testifying, please give the name, address for the record. For those of you testifying, please give testimony related to the ordinance and be as concise as possible. Although this is not necessarily in most hearings, we may ask you to limit your testimony to more than 3 minutes. Does any member of the audience have any objections to the city council's jurisdiction in this matter? Does any member of the city council have any comment with regard to this request? So please indicate the nature of the conflict of interest. Does any council member have pre-hearing contact with any party involved in this proceeding, either for or against the proposal?
Yeah.
We will have Alex. Yes, you will. Before you read the ordinance, it's entirely. Unless someone on the council would like to make a motion to have the title read. To have it read by title only. The city recorder has fulfilled the charter requirements for the ordinance to be read by title only.
Make a motion to second.
All in favor? All right. Yeah, opposed?
Yeah, sorry for doing that out of order. So the ordinance 2311 is about increased water rates during water restriction and declaring emergency. That is the title of this ordinance. We have all these tiers going from 2,500 all the way to 30,000. So this just kills everything after 7,500 and says everything after 7,500 is 4 cents per gallon. It deletes the earlier section we put in to cap it at 7,500 and put in a restriction permit, and it also renumbers the section after it because there's no longer a section. Section 9 is being deleted, therefore we had to turn section 10 into the old section 9. And then there is an emergency clause so that this goes into effect immediately. Any questions?
I don't have a question about the ordinance. I do about the fellow that we extended like an extra benefit to.
Yeah.
So would we assume he's not going to be reimbursed for anything from 5 to 9 cents because that was a special agreement we made with him, right, during that time?
Yeah. No, during the next billing.
But he'll know that everybody's 04.
Yep.
Cents, I got it right this time, not percent, not dollars, 4 cents per dollar.
Remember to give your name and address for the record. Any council members or staff have any questions? All people wishing to testify on the possibility of readings from now. Please give your name and address for the record. Do any council members or staff have any questions? Do any other people wish to testify? Does anyone wish to testify in the rebuttal? Any testimony that has been on? Any testimony is now over. The public hearing is now closed. Council for now receive the information. What was the last one? It looks like it's enough to talk about 1 days. Probably pretty much that's a new rate to go at.
Yeah.
So that's the way. Scratching by, but if we do what we discussed, it should be fine next. These should be good. For now.
And I don't think this precludes us, and I really hope we do sit down and let's look at the numbers for the entire year and see what we're billing it. I mean, I realize we
Yeah.
should be one of the higher ones, but we're in a unique situation up here, so.
Yeah. Yeah, as part of our planning process for the 24 to 25 budget, we're going to have to go to our hauler first and say, how much do you want to charge this year? And then we're going to have to realign the water rates accordingly to that rate, so that we're not caught flat-footed like this again. And that's kind of how we're gonna have to do it next time. Next year we'll be basically planning for this to happen again. If it doesn't happen again,
Yeah.
great. That's what we're hoping for. If it does happen again, we will be ready. That would be up to us. What are you trying to do? You need my comment.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're kind of working right now, but.
Well, things are really left to restrictions and hoping, but it depends on the wells. If they're not producing enough to keep up with demand plus, then I can't.
What are you looking for when you're just looking for something like that?
I'm looking for them to be able to produce, well, to fill the reservoir, you maintain it to the full. Right now it's at 26 feet and it's going between 26.5 and then back down to 26. That's just kind of fluctuating and right there, 30. So once it gets full, then it can take care of 15 to 16,000 gallons that people are using a day, plus some cushion. Then I'll lift the restrictions like we've done in the past.
That's important to see when the school goes. There's.
Right, yeah, I can't say anything right now. Fortunately, we're doing better, but we're not.
Yeah.
And there's no snow.
I'm gonna do something.
Sorry.
Motion to accept.
Yep.
Motion, we have set, 23-11.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you have a separate script for that one, and I'll make sure you go first. Supplemental budget form. It's in your. Let me see.
opening statement, and then the ground rules, because it will be followed by discussion on ex parte contract. Counselor. Public testimony will then be given. If there's any by those who are counselors, you may ask questions of the speaker. Does any member of the audience have any objections to the city council's jurisdiction in this matter? Does any city council have a conflict? No.
All right, I wanted to find $40,000 more to add to our water hauling budget in anticipation of about $20,000 worth of water hauling we would get this month and $20,000 worth of water hauling we would get that month, next month. So what I did was go through and make a series of cuts, mostly 10% across the board to a number of line items. I found some things in there. I know our insurance, our workers' comp insurance premiums dropped for this fiscal year, so we were able to make a big cut to that one and just move it over to water. I'm cutting my hours during the legislative session, so for February and then in the first half of March, I will work 20 hours a week to make sure that we have enough money in the budget to get these things over. I did talk with CIS and they said there's not going to be any impact on the insurance plan as a result of it. So that's good. The cuts that were here all laid out. There were some things like we over budgeted for streetlights, for example, so we can use streetlight money. So we're not going to turn the streetlights off in case anybody's worried about that. And we're not pulling a ton of money from streetlights either. We budgeted 5,500, so we're pulling 550 out of it. We've gotten the exact same streetlight bill for the last 6 months, so I think that's a good sign that it's probably going to stay within a certain amount. We're pulling 10,000 out of the street maintenance budget. There was going to be more money dedicated toward getting the roads maintained this year. In addition to the ARPA, we put more stuff in there. The problem is that we just don't have extra to add to that this year, so we're going to just leave the ARPA money and move 10,000 over and into the final thing that really got us over the hump. Other things that ended up helping us out is when we did the engineering plan with Keller earlier this year was almost $55 million. And the state reimbursed us for that. That comes from our forgivable loan portion of the IFA loan for the new well project. So we're getting it, we got it, we deposited it, and we don't ever have to worry about paying it. Right. We had a lot more money in the bank at the beginning of the year than we budgeted for. Ideally, when there are years of plenty, we wait for the years of little, and unfortunately, our year of plenty was followed by a year of little. So hopefully we're not going to have to keep going crazy like this forever. If all goes according to plan, hopefully we'll get money to deal with another water crisis as well from the state legislature. Hoping that Lori Shaw's Director's office can help us get money to reimburse us what we've done this year so far. And then lastly, is that if everything goes well, we'll have an additional one connected to the city's water system by summer of next year, and then we won't have to worry about this kind of thing in the future. But for now, these are the things that need to be done. The other thing was to add, I think it was about $9,000 to the total we expected for water revenue for the year by put it by raising water rates on the top tier users over 7,500. Later in the year, it was noted the council wants to look at raising those rates for higher users. during restriction periods, and we can look at, after that happens, maybe putting even more money either in the water hauling budget or away till it can be used for next year, that kind of thing. But this is all necessary because as of this month, we've spent more money on water hauling than we have brought in for the city's water program. It's bad. So that's why we're making all these cuts. That's why we're appropriating unanticipated funds now. And just kind of putting the city on a diet until we can, until we're ready for the next one.
As evidenced by the sub-zero degree in this building.
Yes. Yeah. But thankfully it all balances. Plus, it also leaves us with a higher projected budget surplus than we had in our original budget. We can thank, of course, the having more money to begin with than we thought. Any questions?
Public testimony. All people wishing to testify, please remember to give your name and address for the record. Do any other people wish to testify for or against adopting resolution -23-17? Does anyone wish to testify in rebuttal to any testimony that has been offered? Before I close or continue the public hearing, are there any additional questions from city council or staff or of anyone that has testified? Once the hearing has been closed, only city councilors or staff may speak. The public hearing is now closed. The city council shall now discuss the resolution and make a decision. I make a motion. We adopt resolution 23-17. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? RFP approvals.
All right, we have 3 RFPs to issue. One is engineer / project manager to get the well managed and taken care of. 2 is to get a surveyor specifically so that we can get a purchase option prepared and work with the property owner to actually have the discussion we need to. And the last one is for a long-term auditor. Our contract with Kuntz & Blasquez expired last year. We got a 1-year extension with them, but we do need to have a long-term contract with somebody. So there's a contract out there for an auditor. I guess one thing we can add when it comes to the surveyor is that we can pay for that upfront and wait for the expenditures or the legislature to be fixed. We will have money in the budget. And I think it's worthwhile to dig in and pay for that sooner than later. So that because it's a discussion we really need to have. The person who owns this well can't be left in the dark. They need to be part of it. And getting this surveyor is the thing that our lowest is will really allow him to actually do the job that we need to and do right by this game citizen who is helping us out something. So there are 3 RFPs. RFP 2023-2 is for engineer and project manager, 23-3 is for a surveyor, and 23-4 is for an auditor. So
will we pick this up with our current auditor, or do we want to try, we're going to just go for best deal, or?
they'll be allowed to bid on it if they want. I will make calls to, I have to go and make calls to people to get an auditor in here. So.
Hey, Coons has always been pretty fair with us, so, I mean, we put it out before and they've always came back with more than reasonable.
That's good.
There was a time or two that we had a couple of issues with the last administrator and them that, kind of created a conflict, but other than that, the Coons have done us a nice job, so. At a reasonable rate.
Okay.
I mean, just from my history.
Makes sense. Yeah, it is. The state calls it a best practice to try and get a new auditor every 5 years. You can switch back and forth if you want, but we will see.
All I remember them talking at one of the meetings they came to about how there was like another big business out there that quit and how
Yeah.
it might be difficult to find another auditor
Yeah.
because there weren't as many.
Oh, yeah, it is gonna be difficult. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up just going with them again.
That's the
And
size of the city, that's what your big problem has, it's a small city, they don't, they
Yeah.
don't want to deal with us.
the amount of effort is not
Yeah,
worth the profit.
We're small change.
Yeah.
We had
So-
some trouble with their internal auditors and they kind of went through a revamp here a couple years ago, so.
Yep.
Do you need a move from my sense?
Yeah, move to issue the fees, then I can put them on our website.
I have a quick question.
Oh, yes.
Do we have to be audited? Is that a rule?
So there's three tiers for what we do is the top tier is an audit, which is a full scale thing that is defined by the Secretary of State. Second one is kind of it's a much less comprehensive version of an audit called an agreed upon procedure. It's a lot smaller and a lot less expensive to do, but you have to meet a certain threshold to avoid doing that. It is good to note that for the next, the state did just significantly raise the tier for how much money you have to spend in order to actually be audited. So when we get to the end of this fiscal year, if it looks like we don't actually need to do a full audit, that'll be awesome. But if we end up doing the street grading program as projected and spending all of that ARPA money, we're probably going to need to do a full audit again. We really don't want to delay street maintenance. People need streets, and that's what the money's there for. Yeah.
So I moved to issue RFPs 2023-2, 2023-3, and 2023-4. Second. Aye. Yes.
All right, Mr. Mayor, we'll have to use the ordinance script again for the next one. 23-12. Yes.
A public hearing to consider the ordinance. The hearing will be conducted as follows. I will make the opening statements and set any ground rule. When testifying, please give your name and address for the record. For those of you testifying, please give testimony related to the ordinance and be as concise as possible. Although this is not necessarily in most hearings, we may ask you to limit your testimony to no more than 3 minutes. Does any member of the audience have any objections to the city council's jurisdiction in this matter? Does any members of the city council have a conflict of interest with regard to this request? If so, please indicate the nature of your conflict of interest and leave the council table if necessary. Has any council member had pre-hearing contact with any party involved in the case, either for or against the proposal? I will have Alex McCaddy, the city administrator reporter, read the ordinance in its entirety, unless someone on the council would like to make a motion to have the title read only. The city reporter has fulfilled the charter requirements for the ordinance to be read by title. Make a motion. All in favor? Any opposed?
Ordinance 23-12, amending water system development charges. And the next line in the script.
Anyone on the council or staff have any questions?
Let me present it now. So, water system development charges. There was a developer who had asked us about what it takes to connect to the city's water system. And at first I thought it was a little more clear, but when I dug in for more details, I found that the process we have in place for figuring out how people actually connect to our water system, what they're responsible for and what they pay for, actually references a few different ordinances from the 90s that have been abolished for quite some time. So the idea was to simplify that and make it easier to do it. The first thing was to say that costs are defined by our fee ordinance rather than a resolution. One of the things I found odd was that originally it said our fee ordinance, then somebody replaced it to say resolution. So we're replacing it back to say ordinance because I thought it was weird. I don't know why it was done, but we're going to go back to the actual ordinance we're going to use. We also make sure that we're using ordinance 8208 rather than the two in the 90s that ended up being abolished to say what it's going to be. There are fees for inspections and things like that that are in there. There are fees for whether it's a gravity system or it's a pressurized system, then it specifies at the end, water lines, drainage facilities, and fire hydrants shall be conducted at the cost of the developer. So currently that's a requirement for PUDs. Specifically, this will be a requirement for every new construction that goes in. You'll have to add at the cost of your, that'll be at the cost of the developer. It's kind of sort of in there already, but just not clear enough for anybody to be able to put together, especially because it's referencing ordinances from the 90s that have been abolished. So this was our attempt to clean it up and make sure there's actually something in there you can go and look at and go, yeah, that's the cost for doing all of this, and the developer pays the cost of connecting to the water system.
Generally, a development is put in a dry system when they're putting in a new community or subdivision. And the developer does generally put all the plumbing in for that from the mains on out. After that, usually everything from the meter to the house is the owner's, and from the meter to the plant is the municipalities. My concern is, do we want a contractor that we don't know and didn't hire getting our main up and trying to tap into it? The main that we're actually looking at is an 8-inch main. Or do we contract somebody we know, have them do it, and then pass on the cost? I personally don't think we want somebody we don't know digging up our water main and tapping into it.
It's a permit to something that's gonna be happening soon. I would agree with you.
So would it be fees that we levy on them?
That's up to you guys. I don't see an issue with that personally, but I don't think we want other people digging up our water mains or doing a tap on them. Last one we did, we had Habitat. I watched their guys dig it up for us, kind of as a help us out thing at the moment because things were not clear. And then Brownsville came over and helped coach me through doing the hot tap. So it's not something that I feel comfortable just having Joe Schmo backhoe operator come out and do.
Yeah, especially no located wires, stuff like that.
Right.
A lot of main lines.
Right, and I do have OAWU coming out next Wednesday or Thursday to bring me a locator to try and locate the current line in that area or lines in that area. Otherwise, we'll be digging blind the whole time.
Yeah, it's got the sand or the river put on top of it back in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's about all we can find.
Which isn't, yeah, it's not, most of it's not there no more.
Right.
So if we were to
Yeah.
go JD's recommendation, would we accept this ordinance and then rework the wording, or do we need to rework the wording before we clean all this up?
So I think the way it's written down here is that these things shall be constructed at the cost of the developer, but not by the developer. So the city can go out
So
and do that, but the developer is told you're paying for this. But they're not in charge of doing it themselves. That would be us.
So we would have to put out a RFP to have somebody, or we just hire somebody that we trust without a RFP.
So RFPs aren't required for everything we do, just depends on the cost of the project. So it really just depend on.
What, do you know any of those numbers?
Not off the top of my, I've never
Yeah.
done this before, so.
Very few of them.
Do you have an idea of what those top hats fall?
No, the equipment, Alex would have a receipt for the last one we did. But digging the ditch, it's gonna be about 60, 80 foot long ditch, and it's going across St. Louis Street. And it's going to be connected right near well 4, so there's a lot of electrical and other stuff in the way there as well. Unfortunately, when the current service line was put in, it wasn't a little bit bigger, so we could tap off of it and go 2 ways, or they didn't run a second line, one for each property. So the one that's there going to the upper property, that's established property, is not big enough for us to tee off of. So we have to.
I wonder why it's got to change it, 'cause I know there's one line going across there anyway, because we had a leak on that thing way back when. And that cost the city plenty, but anyway. Yeah, I wonder why. They go clear to the main line out to their end. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about this stuff.
But our contract policy says that contracts for goods or services with a contract price greater than 10,000 and less than 50,000, those are called intermediate procurements. And it says they can be made by informal written solicitations. So if somebody comes and says, we want to connect up to the city water system, we don't have to have a council meeting to issue an RFP and spend several months figuring it out, as long as it's less than $50,000. So,
I don't know if Alex would want to call the city director over in Brownsville and see if maybe his crew would be interested in coming over and doing the dig for us.
we can see.
Yeah, and the cost. But yeah,
That's good info.
They have somebody who knows what they're doing with that.
I would think.
well, and they have the equipment too. And the thing is, the hot tap is theirs that I would be using. And they will get the saddle, which goes around the main. They will get the tap. They will get the line going across and all the connections for that. In their account. Last time, major disaster, because we don't have account with Ferguson. And we pay by check and they don't want to take checks, and we returned everything because it wasn't the right stuff. So Carl, the public works director in Brownsville, said, next time, just let us order for you and you reimburse us. And I said, that sounds like a great idea.
Thank you for getting a good relationship with him.
For the benefit of the public, we have a contractual relationship with the city of Brownsville
Yes.
that governs all of this. So it's not just us flinging around willy-nilly. There's an actual certified agreements.
But whether they're welcome to help with this part of it.
Yeah, they're not obligated to do it, but there is a contract governing this. So
So that sounds doable, Alex.
yeah, in my mind, I don't think we need to change the language. I think the main concern was that there was are we doing it or are they doing it? But it just says it has to be at the cost of developers. So we're just going to say, you're paying for it, we're doing it.
Take care of it to the matter.
We're in charge of, that should be our responsibility, like to the meter, correct? Like,
Yeah.
The meter, their house, that's their problem.
Right, and the main to the meter right now would be our problem, not theirs.
Yeah.
So really charging them for that's not, in my mind, reasonable.
Hello.
great question.
I think that's the way it has to be done anyways, normally.
Right.
What's that, Jeff?
I say normally that's the way it goes anyways. The city, takes responsibility.
Yep.
Versus the contractor, who's ever developing the house or.
Well, it's totally different when it's a new development
Yeah,
than it is when it's a piecework like this.
Right.
one is.
yeah, so.
But it is
Seems
The
like.
city is
pretty
responsible to the meter, and so
Right,
therefore charging them. for
I would
that.
agree, because we want it done right, we don't want it hodgepodge, right?
Or chancing them split in parts.
Exactly.
The city's water supply.
Yeah. But the idea is coming out the hillside.
We don't want that to be the weakest link on our side. So. Need a motion?
Next part on that.
All
Not
people
there yet.
wishing to testify on behalf of the ordinance will now testify. Remember to give your name and address for the record. Do any council members or staff have any additional questions? All people wishing to testify in opposition of the ordinance will now testify. Please give your name and address for the record. Do any council members or staff have any questions? Do any other people wish to testify? Does anyone wish to testify in rebuttal to any testimony that has been offered? The public hearing is now closed. The city council shall now discuss the ordinance and make.
I move to adopt ordinance 2312.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 23-08.
Another reserve transfer resolution. Hopefully, we're gonna do only one more of these big ones before the end of the fiscal year, but cross your fingers. The idea is that we have we've got $32,000 worth of bills to pay today. We have $21,000 in the bank that we can use to pay. So we need to, one, have enough money to pay for that, and also have enough money left over to keep paying the bills that come through next month. Those are things that we can't just pay by check. Those are our healthcare and streetlights and internet and things like that. So this leaves us in a really healthy position to be able to pay things. The other thing is that I'm really hoping that our water hauling bill next month is lower than it is this month. And it is possible that by having a $25,000 transfer now, the one next month is going to end up being lower because we started out like this. It would not be imprudent for you all to say we'd rather just do $20,000 now. It really just ends up, I think, being a decision about when we transfer that other $5 now, whether it's next month. I wasn't sure we'd be able to do that until like yesterday or a couple of days ago when we got a bunch of money and I was like, oh, we could kick it down to 20 if the council wanted. So it's up to you.
But it's likely we'll need money again next month, right?
Yeah, we will. So
I'll say move it all.
move it on.
Agree.
You always move it back, you don't use it or whatever, something have it there to spend.
Better to have it and not use it. Have a special meeting.
Just to move over. One place to be.
Okay, I need to adopt the ordinance.
Oh, it's a resolution.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
My bad.
Resolution?
Yep.
2318.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's have it.
All right, we had a presentation a couple months back from Community Services Consortium about establishing a continuum of care for the Lynn, Benton, Lincoln Counties region and registering with HUD in 2024. They need resolutions from all the communities in the area to be able to submit this application. So they wanted to see if we would be willing to submit an application support after noodling around on the presentation. I'm sure we've all thought long and hard and a lot about everything that was presented since then. I don't really see a reason not to.
What does it mean exactly? I don't think I even left that meaning, you know, we want
It's just
agreeing to.
us giving them a fight.
So there's
As long as it doesn't sign our names. on these things.
there's certain welfare programs that get distributed to local governments, and Most of Oregon is in one, most Oregon counties are in one pot. Now, local counties can ask to be in a different pot, and I think they were saying that like Jackson County put itself in its own pot of money, and it ends up getting like more money than everybody else in our like 20 county continuum of care we're in. So they're thinking, hey, if we make our own pot with the 3 counties, maybe we can get some more money too. So
Help more people that need help.
yeah,
There's no price tag on it, right?
not for us, no.
And that doesn't impact something else, you know, that whole pond in the water, and we find out, oh, this makes us ineligible for whatever, because we're in this county doing that thing.
I mean, there's nothing in this decision that we specifically deal with ourselves. It's the federal government wanting to know whether we as a community want to be sharing a pot of funds that CSC is getting, not us as a city. The idea would be that right now CSC is one of several entities in this 20 county continuum sharing the same pot of money, whereas CSC would get its own pot now that is bigger than the rest of everybody else.
It's just a numbers game.
It's a numbers game.
So
So
what happens if we agree to this and then, somebody else does it and the pot keeps getting smaller and smaller? And so it's not what they think they're gonna be getting in a couple of years, right? It's gonna be. I mean, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Right now, we're a group of 20, right? 20 counties, and we
Something
go
like
to
that.
3, and then the next go to 3, and then, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's gonna be our access to the funding.
well, we're not getting any. It's all about Community Services Consortium getting it. So it doesn't impact our bank account at all. We're never gonna
But
have.
like Portland, Medford and Eugene get most of the money from the federal government to pay for funds, and we don't get none because we're a small little hole out in the middle of, we're a little splice deck in the pond.
Yeah, see if I
So it
can.
doesn't go into our input.
No, it doesn't go into there. It's just them saying, hey, we could get more money if we were doing our own thing.
And if enough
Yeah,
cities sign on to it, they get recognized.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand it a little better. I thought it was
Yeah,
part of our
I
revenue instead of our.
No, there,
It's not part of
yeah,
our
it's not part of our revenue.
revenue then.
Yeah, that's a.
They're saying, so so we're in like, let's see, make sure I got this counted. All but 8 counties are in 36 minus 8 is 24. So we're in a continuum of care with 24 counties. All of those counties get to share $26 million. And Community Services Consortium gets 3.7 million out of that 26 million. Jackson County put itself in its own continuum of care. And even though they have a smaller population than our 3 counties, Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln, they get $8.8 million. So their thinking is, if we group together with a higher population, we can get a bigger share of the funds.
Yeah.
So everybody here to help Sodaville, but doesn't hurt Sodaville.
Yeah, I mean,
It could, I mean, it could help us because of they're able to wrangle the funds.
yeah,
There's more funds allocated for Lynn, Benton. The idea is they get more money for our counties so that they'll be able to help those situations.
yeah,
We could do it on a more local level to do that.
yeah, that's the idea. And this is pretty focused on homelessness specifically is what the continuum of care is about. So getting a more granular focus with more federal funding is the idea behind this. So I don't know. There's not a homelessness problem in Sodaville, obviously, but
Yeah, but it affects everybody.
it does.
No, there's,
I mean, not like we don't have people camped out at
yeah,
the park.
Kevin's a perfect example.
He found a way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I move we adopt the ordinance.
Or sorry, again, it's a resolution. So yeah,
Oh,
that was my mistake. Sorry about that.
23-19. To support.
All in favor? Any opposed? I shall, yeah. Report.
So I did Aqua, the Oregon Cascades, blah, 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 blah. And, although some of what I will talk about doesn't really impact us. We do sit on the board, we have a seat, and we also pay funds to the board. So I think it's important that we're aware of what they're doing. So they have that new building in Corvallis, the new office in Corvallis, which we're very excited about, which they're going to centralize. They were merging two different groups under one umbrella. And as a result, they were having to merge different softwares, their HR software, their financial software. And apparently, in my opinion, they didn't do a deep enough research to find out that one of the softwares wouldn't work after they wrote the contract and started going down with it. So they're having to back out of that contract to do another one with and they're doing it first gen. So the company that they decided to go with, Oracle, had never done this. Well, there you go. Had never done the second part of what they're going for. So they're taking first gen, but they say they're going to have a lot of configurability. So Yahoo. And then the other thing was they had a big move about DEI, diversity and inclusion and all that good kind of stuff. And they started out talking about the bias report that they've done. I think it's like a year and a half ago or 2 years. They were doing a report on internal mechanisms and what they're doing and how to be less biased and all that kind of stuff. And they came up with, they hired a firm, paid a lot of money. They came up with all of these recommendations. And one of them, was to hire a full-time equivalent employee just to be a go-between with the hotline and CSC. And I had that kind of face because I wasn't really sure why they needed a full-time equivalent for that. They also wanted to be like the point for doing the training on DEI and bias, but they actually admitted that they don't really know that what they're doing yet. So it's like, doesn't make sense for you to be the point on training. They're not really there. I was told that Sodaville really wasn't that diverse, and I'm paraphrasing, so we may not really understand what's going on. And so I had to tell them that, we have diversity. We have all sorts of diversity here by the mere nature of us being human beings. No two of us are the same. So Harrisburg kind of said, yeah, we're like Sodaville. And I said, a lot of times the bigger cities don't have the same issues that the smaller cities do. So there's a little bit of conversation with that. So they're still looking at what they're going to do. I think they backed off on the FTE, the hiring the liaison for the hotline. And they're going to talk about internally how they can work on their own DEI before they decide to go out and be point for teaching all the cities how to be DEI as well. So. And then next year, somebody might want to
take them over for. Keep my mouth shut.
Well, I mean, you need to speak up because that's
how
what
they
you're
get,
there
that's how you
for.
get input.
Well, I guess that's how they give them the power. Don't say anything.
To clarify with that, so you're gonna take over the seat in calendar year 2024 is the thinking. Okay, good. So that is something we will have to put on the agenda in January under our charter. The mayor appoints and then the council votes to confirm the nomination. But that's just a procedural thing. I just want to make sure that.
I don't mind, but I would like to. Would be nice.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll just make sure to put it on the agenda. That's all good.
I will wait in to RSVP.
Yes.
I mean, mostly nice people. It's just there's still we're bigger and better, and we've been doing this longer than you. Nice little Sodaville. So.
We don't know what you don't got except.
Yeah, I can hear the banjo music.
Dig in here first.
Yeah, they had a Zoom meeting with city staff from the region to talk about the results of the DEI survey a while back. And some of the people participating in that use some perplexing language to discuss their thoughts on diversity.
I'm just wondering which way the stereotypes are running.
Somebody talked about admonishing the host because one of their phrases centered whiteness.
Yeah. I don't think anyone. Good luck.
Like, people just get classified as people. I mean, what's this? Why does everybody gotta be classified? Why can't they just be people?
People.
Well, that's the whole reason they're trying to push that stuff.
Well, it just, I mean, why put everybody into special classes? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, people just need to be to divide. It is to divide us, you know, and that's exactly what it's doing. And I mean, people just need to be people.
Oh, the other thing that they talked about the process for doing that survey, and they had community events all over the place, and the one they did in Lebanon, nobody attended.
I think, no, they said something like 3 people.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, when they had the call, they said there were no attendees, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's still, you know, that shockingly low, because
I don't think they advertised it well. I didn't hear about it in the city at all.
I didn't
That's-
imagine.
Part of it too, you know, that's part of, to Joe's point the other day when we were talking to that one person that came in here, it's just a matter of adding more administrators to groups and people that are kind of unnecessary in a lot of people's opinion,
And I just
including
don't
mine.
understand, why would they take point as being the leaders and trainers if they actually documented they didn't know what they were doing? And my poker face isn't very good.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It's like, no,
Add another administrator.
it's, I don't know, can it?
Anyway,
Somebody's like, give me the
Mayor,
number.
can I give my 2 cents there? Help answer her question.
What's up?
Can I put my 2 cents in there to make the answer?
Have a public comment. Go ahead.
We are there.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I was gonna say, when I worked at Hewlett Packard, when people came forward and said that we want to be the cleaners and we're gonna hire somebody to do this, it could be that they're starting at the ground floor, writing the procedures, and then they will then teach them to the people. That's the way we need to do it. Not saying that's the way they're going to do it, but it seems like they would already, in this day and age, have those types of things already in place.
They don't.
So maybe that's what they are.
Yeah.
What?
But I mean, I don't.
So, yeah, I agree.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're gonna hire somebody that will give them $100,000 a year. That would be behind it.
Well, apparently there was a fisticuff at Albany City Council meeting.
Oh, really? I love
And they said, you know, city council, you guys have to be prepared for diversity. And I'm like, you know, bad actors and bad behavior happens everywhere. So that across the spectrum of people, thank goodness, there's a huge spectrum. We're not all the same. That would be boring. But anyway.
You know, and sometimes a small town like Sodaville, people don't really give us credit, you know, like the Lynn County cohorts, when they came in here and they was gonna help Sodaville because we're such poor people. And look at what we did when they couldn't do it, you know, putting together the park and stuff like that. Those, the Lynn County cohorts were a bunch of businessmen.
Right.
That was supposed to really have all this pull and
All the answers.
all the answers. 6 months later, they couldn't do it. And Sodaville stepped up and put in a sports court. And,
Anyway, what was it for next?
Make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor?
Aye. What is this?
Honey.
Thank you, Roger.